This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news, and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Burgamy.
Welcome, friends. Our last show of November 2018, but plenty more are on the way, like the man said, since 1966. Happy to have you along for the next 30 minutes. I'm Ray DeLessio.
And I'm Kenny Burgamy. First, some good news. Hurricane season officially ends November 30th, but the bad news, hurricanes themselves are only going to get bigger and stronger in the coming years. Why is that? Coming up, the Monitor sits down with expert climatologist Pam Knox, who explains the factors that contribute to the mega storms and how she likened it to the steroid era in Major League Baseball.
Oh, but the show isn't all gloom and doom. Of course, it's the holiday season, and that means we have got recipe ideas that'll make your house guests begging for more. And then later, the Georgia Agriculture Hall of Fame adds a new member, and it's somebody worthy of presidential-like honors. These stories and so much more starting right now on the Farm Monitor.
With input costs that can run in the millions for producers, it's essential for them to keep their gate card up to date. Damon Jones walks you through the renewal process and tells you some of the recent changes to that program.
Between the heavy equipment to plant and harvest their crops, feed for their cattle, and even storage space for their products, input costs are high for farmers. It's the reason for the gate card, as it helps keep Georgia's #1 industry thriving. And this year, there have been some changes to the qualifications.
Probably the most significant change to the program is the increase in the annual revenue threshold in order to be eligible for the program. That has increased or will increase from $2,500 a year to $5,000 a year. One of the benefits, even though that revenue threshold is increasing, one of the benefits is that $5,000 can come from multiple commodities. Doesn't have to come from just one particular eligible crop. It can come from multiple.
And it's not the only major change this year, as the Department of Ag will also start phasing in multi-year cards.
So beginning this year, we're going to start the process of offering a 3-year gate card. Now we're going to stage that in over the course of the next 3 years. So when some folks renew, they may only get one card, a one-year card this year. Another batch of applicants will receive a 2-year card, and then some will go ahead and receive a 3-year renewal. Moving forward, everyone will receive a 3-year gate card. Now, along with that is an increase to the application fee from the card. A 3-year gate card will cost $150 a year, so that's a slight increase over previous years, but you do have the benefit of having the multi-year card.
Now, unlike previous years, mailed applications are no longer accepted, as they will now all be processed electronically. This will be beneficial to both the applicant and the Department of Ag.
From a security standpoint, that it is more secure to have the data online than in a paper form in the mail or in our office.
It also helps streamline the process, which is really quite simple once you log on.
So when you log on, you'll pick your qualification. You will move on and select your primary agricultural operation. If you're renewing, you will verify all of your personal information, or if you're a new applicant, you'll supply that information. The next step is a new step that was implemented in the law. And in this step, you will have to select your state taxpayer identification number. And then the final step is that you'll pick your tax form. And this list is the same as the previous years.
As for the advice to the farmers when beginning their renewal process,
so whether you are applying online or using the assistance of the Farm Bureau or an extension agent, please be sure that you have all your information with you and in front of you before you start the process.
Reporting from Atlanta, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
Now, meantime, in recent years, hurricanes appear to be getting more intense and reportedly causing more and more damage. Georgia, of course, has felt this firsthand, and it's taken hits from 2 hurricanes in 2 years. Our John Holcomb spent some time with a climatologist to discuss the evolution of hurricanes and if these so-called megastorms are the new norm.
In the past 2 years, Georgia has experienced 2 different storms that rocked the state's agriculture industry. It's impossible to know when a hurricane is going to form, but I still wanted to find out if this is something those in ag need to expect for years to come. To answer that question, I visited with climatologist Pam Knox and spoke with her about hurricanes, and our discussion started with how they're formed.
Hurricanes can form from a number of different ways. The most common way that we see them here in Georgia is a storm that starts as a wave coming off of the west coast of Africa, and then it moves across the Atlantic Ocean.
From there are a couple of things that need to happen to that wave to start forming a tropical storm. But the main thing is that it has warm enough ocean water, which is basically the fuel for the storm.
The Atlantic Ocean in the summer, of course, is pretty warm. Usually you need to have water temperatures that are at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit for it to have enough energy to really spin up. So these waves start off the coast of Africa. As they move to the east, they pick up water vapor, they increase in energy because of the warm water, and they start to circle around. And then as it gets stronger, that circle tightens, and it becomes first a tropical storm and then a hurricane.
What comes next is a scale of intensity. Experts monitor how fast the hurricane is moving, how fast the winds are, and what kind of surge is pushing in front of it. In recent years, storms actually seem to be getting stronger or more intense. I ask about this, and Knox says it's due to the fuel being more available for them.
There's always been hurricanes. There's always going to be hurricanes. Just like in baseball, there's always been home runs as long as you've had fences. But the thing is, we're changing some things about the environment that are kind of juicing the system. The same way that in the steroid era of baseball, the steroids made it, the hitters be able to hit the balls a little bit farther, a little bit longer. So all of a sudden we had more hurricanes because they had stronger hitting, and so they were able to get the ball over the fence more frequently. So we're kind of juicing the system.
And if the trend of warmer water continues, so will the trend of more intense hurricanes, because of more fuel for them being available.
What I see happening is that, we have warmer ocean temperatures, and that's one of the key ingredients for how hurricanes form. So if they're warmer, that means there's more energy available for these storms to suck up and to grow.
Then there's the question of frequency. How often can we expect them? We've had 2 significant hurricanes do damage to Georgia agriculture in the past 2 years. That may be the case, but we've actually been in a drought, if you will, of hurricanes for the last 30 years. And it's that reason that Knox says that people just don't remember them.
I think in a lot of people's memories, they just don't remember a time when we had them. And so I think part of it is experience. I think part of it is that we have been in a relatively quiet period. And we know hurricanes go through periods. There's a 30-year cycle in strong, frequent storms versus not frequent storms. We're coming back into a more active period. So I think just even without thinking about warming, we're probably going to see more storms in the future.
Reporting in Watkinsville for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
John, thank you so much. And don't forget, if you would like to help those in Georgia affected by Hurricane Michael, Georgia Farm Bureau is accepting donations to aid in the relief efforts. For more information on how to donate, visit gfb.ag/storm relief.
Now, still to come here on the Monitor, former President Jimmy Carter. A look back at the major contributions he made to Georgia agriculture and how he forever wants to be remembered.
But first, it's time to break out those aprons and those holiday appetites. Marcia and I are whipping up some incredible recipes, including one using grade A quality Georgia beef. Meals from the field when the Farm Monitor continues. Well, yes, the weather outside is frightful, but a monthly recipe segment with Marcia Crowley. Now that, my friends, that is delightful.
Oh, my goodness.
Except when you call her up and you give her a hard time about Georgia beating Auburn, then she's not really delightful.
Not even worth the hard time this year.
Hey, welcome back to the Georgia Farm Monitor and to another edition of Meals from the Field. Yes, as always, I am joined by my partner in crime and good friend, Marcia Crowley. Good to see you again, Marcia.
Good to see you, Ray.
And I am sorry about your Auburn Tigers. I hate to see when you lose because you're always aggravated. But no, Thanksgiving is in the past. Did you have a nice one?
I did.
Good. Good time with family. So now we are looking ahead to, I guess, Christmas, and you've got some ideas here that we could whip up things for company when they come.
And they're easy.
Let's get started.
All right, this first one, I've been doing this recipe for probably 35 years. I can't believe I've never shared it with y'all.
Okay.
It's one of my favorites. It's a marinated London broil.
All right.
Okay, we've got a half a cup of Italian dressing, the cheaper the better.
Okay.
A quarter of a cup of soy sauce and the juice of 1 lemon. Half a cup of Coca-Cola.
Oh.
Don't use Pepsi. Half a cup of Coca-Cola.
We are in Atlanta, of course.
We are in Atlanta.
And we know where the headquarters of Coca-Cola is at.
And 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. And basically just mix this up. And you pour it over the London broil. I'm going to let you hold that for me.
All
so
right.
And the London broil is a tough cut of meat, so you really want to marinate this for at least 8 hours or overnight. And then you're going to grill it, like if you grill it, 7 minutes on one side, 5 on the other, and you want it to be somewhat rare.
Okay.
Because it is a tough cut of meat. And of course,
Right.
you refrigerate this. And like I said, this is so good. It's really good. Slice it really thin.
Right.
Okay.
So take a look at the final product. You see, as Marcia said, little pink in the middle there, so nice and rare.
You can always put it in the microwave for a minute if you got guests that like it a little
Tougher.
less pink.
Yeah, okay. All right, what else?
The next thing, this is an odd combination, but it works. Sweet potatoes, Brussels sprouts, and pecans. So you're going to make a, you're going to put this over the mixture. 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of butter pecan syrup. If you can't find that, maple syrup works just fine. Salt and pepper and thyme. I'll just kind of mix that up real good before you add the veggies. All right, you're going to toss this 1 sweet potato, a half a pound of Brussels sprouts, and I know Damon is probably not even going to get close to this dish.
Yes, Damon Jones, our resident non-vegetable advocate.
And these are 2 very strong veggies. All right, 1 sweet potato and a cup of Georgia pecans. Actually, I don't know that Georgia grows sweet potatoes. They might. I'm sorry, Brussels sprouts. You just toss that up, then you're going to spread it on a baking sheet and roast the veggies, excuse me, at 450 for about 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay.
And this really works. Just that little bit of syrup in there really makes it good.
I don't know, after Damon might look at that, he might actually want to try that.
He might want to pick the sweet
No,
potatoes out.
he is shaking his head.
No. That's all right. We've got plenty for him to choose from. And this is one of my favorites. These are cheese squares, which is really an appetizer, but you got to have an appetizer before you have that nice meal. All right, I've got 2.5 tablespoons of finely chopped jalapeno pepper.
Okay.
We're going to add to that 4 cups of cheese.
Okay.
Now, what could be wrong with that?
Nothing.
This is a really, we used to go to Braves games when my son was smaller, and I would take these, and everybody around me would have to have one because you can serve them cold, warm. Actually, they're better cold. Spread that in the bottom of your dish over the peppers. Then this is 6 eggs, which is a lot, I know, but there's only 3 ingredients. So well-beaten eggs, large eggs, which if the recipe doesn't specify, they're always large.
Right.
Just for information. Spread that over the top of this.
Me personally, I always go with the jumbo eggs.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Sometimes you can't tell the difference if you put them next.
That is true.
Next to each other. Really, that's only makes a difference if you're like baking a cake or bread or something. Okay, you're going to bake this at 350 for 20 minutes. And these are delicious, by the way.
These are delicious, and again, we have the final product there. Now Damon is shaking his head. Yes,
now
he
we
likes
made him
those.
happy.
So, and of course, folks, these recipes, they are so easy, and you yourself can make them by logging on to gfb.org/recipes, or I take that back. That's actually farm-monitor.com, and go there on the recipe section. Everything is there for you in detail. GFB.org was the old one. Was the old one. Now we have Farm Monitor has our own website. So again, that's farm-monitor.com. Go to the recipe section. Everything is there for you in detail, and such delicious recipes. Marcia, good to see you again. Enjoy the holidays.
Thank you.
And you enjoy the holidays as well. We'll see you next month.
Ray, Marcia, thanks so much. Now up next, a look back at the life and legacy of the newest member of the Georgia Agricultural Hall of Fame.
I'm Charlie Kilmaster, the State Deer Biologist with the Wildlife Resources Division. Today we're going to talk about some of the different land use patterns in Georgia and how that impacts not only deer size, but the number of deer that you find across the landscape. Let's start up in the mountains. Up here we have mostly closed canopy hardwood forest, and not a lot of sunlight reaches the forest floor. And that doesn't really grow a lot of food or cover for deer. When you don't have a lot of food or cover, it leaves you with a low density population and not very big deer compared to the rest of the state. Similar to the mountains, the lower coastal plain down in southeast Georgia is a similar circumstance, but down here we have mostly closed canopy pine forests and not a lot of food or cover there either. Let's move over to the upper coastal plain. This is our main agricultural region in the state. And I know what you're thinking, big agriculture means big deer, and it does to a large extent, but it also means it's a lower density population than some other areas because our limiting factor is cover. Finally, let's move up to the Piedmont. This is our deer factory in the state. This is where we have a lot of deer and good quality deer. Not as big as southwest Georgia in the upper coastal plain, but good sized deer and a lot of them. The reason the Piedmont is so good is because we have an excellent mixture of food and cover. Like you see behind me here, we have sparsely forested areas and open habitat where the sunlight gets to the ground producing food and cover and forested cover for escape. Now that we've gone over the different types of land use in the state, I hope you have some insight on how the landscape influences the deer population and the size of deer in the area of the state that you hunt.
Well, finally this week, the Georgia Agricultural Hall of Fame has a new member. His name, Jimmy Carter.
Yes, that Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States, and the same Jimmy Carter who at 94 years old still works the farm to this day. His induction taking place just a few weeks ago on November 9th, something President Carter called the highlight of his life in agriculture.
From our friends at UGA Extension comes the story of a man some have called the most famous peanut farmer in history.
His symbol when he ran for president was the peanut, and it also indicated to people all over the nation that agriculture was important. He quickly became one of the best known peanut farmers in the world.
Well, we didn't have any equipment on the farm. It was powered by machinery. All the work was done by manual labor, or by mules and horses. It was about like farming had been 200 years before I was born. So it was a rudimentary life, but a very wonderful, close-knit family existence. And when I came home from the Navy in 1953, we still farmed with mules and horses. We didn't have any combines then. I still didn't have any tractors then.
And so when his father died, and it became a necessity that he pick up the gauntlet and come home to Plains, Georgia, and take over the 600-acre peanut farms.
I was very eager to learn all I could about agriculture. And so I would go down to extension courses and learn the latest techniques on growing peanuts and cotton and corn.
And he took notes, and he listened, and he asked questions.
So I used to be out in the field with the University of Georgia experts. I used to be on my hands and knees looking underneath peanut plants to see how much it hurt our crop production when you had to run a plow through it.
He enrolled in the Georgia Certified Seed Company, and then he built a sheller.
I was growing and producing peanuts, seed peanuts, and selling them, and I built a peanut shelling plant to process the peanuts. So I was in charge of the production of all certified seed in Georgia for 2 years. As I got more knowledgeable about agriculture, I became very interested in the state organizations. I was president for 2 years of the Georgia Crop Improvement Association.
He was in the trenches throughout his life on the farm and in active things. The Crop Improvement Association is very important, and all of those things put him in touch with people. He wanted to serve and make things better, to make things happen in a worthwhile way.
He wasn't satisfied until he got to the bottom of what his problem was. And so he approached the problems in farming with a sharp, strong desire to come up with some solution. So he had good leadership, practiced it in his own business.
By and large, there are people who want to be involved and want to make things better. And Jimmy Carter's one of those, you know, at the top of the group, one who always wanted to be involved. So I think those experiences did help him as he moved on to become a state senator, a member of the Georgia State Senate, and then governor, and then president. He helped increase the research for the industry, and he was always responsive when we went to him with a problem.
When I became president, of course, I tried to understand personally, based on my past experience and my commitment to agriculture and what I knew what agriculture had meant to me, I tried to do all I could to increase conservation in the state and in the nation, and to make sure that the laws that were passed by our country were beneficial to farmers. And so I've been responsible for, you might say, agriculture in the whole country when I was president.
One thing I love is his statue on the grounds of the Georgia State Capitol with him in work clothes with his hands outstretched. And to me that symbolized him saying, "How can I help you?" or saying, "Come join me in this worthwhile cause."
Well, I think around Plains, they look on me more as a peanut farmer than anything else, because peanuts has been, you know, an integral part of my life. Since then, it's become kind of a symbol of a person who came out of a small town, who was a peanut farmer, and who used that experience to become an unanticipated president of the United States. And perhaps my having been the leader of the nation and one of the leaders of the world has helped agriculture in our state and in our nation and in other countries as well. But I'm not bragging about it, I'm just trying to answer your question.
Well, he may not want to brag about it, but we sure will. Congratulations, Mr. President, on your induction. Unfortunately, that is going to do it for this week's edition of the Farm Monitor.
Now, here's a reminder for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm. Be sure and check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and with us here on the show.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on the Farm Monitor.
As always, have a great week.